Lake Manitoba, French Lac Manitoba, is the 14th largest lake in Canada and the 33rd largest lake in the world, with a total area of 1,785 square miles. It is located within the Canadian province of Manitoba, about 47 miles northwest of the province's capital, Winnipeg. Its shores, populated by the Assiniboine and Cree, was made known to Europeans by La Vérendrye in the mid-1730s. He and his sons traveled from Fort La Reine through this lake to explore the Saskatchewan River and its environs. Forts were established on both the Saskatchewan and Cedar Lake. It also was part of the fur trade route to Hudson Bay. The name derives from Cree Manitou Wapau or Ojibwa Manidubaya, both meaning Straits of Manitou, the Great Spirit, a toponym referring to what are now called the Narrows in the center of the lake. These Narrows were an area that the spirit could be heard. What exactly was heard, and in what exact location, seems to be a mystery. The lake was known to French explorers as Lac des Prairies. The short-lived Republic of Manitoba and its successor, the province of Manitoba, both take their name from this lake. For many years, there have been claims that a monster similar to Scotland's Loch Ness Monster and British Columbia's Ogopogo lives in the lake. It has been named Manipogo. Sightings of this serpent-like sea monster have been going on since roughly 1908. The irregularly shaped lake, about 120 miles long, is the smallest of a group of three large lakes, the other two being Lake Winnipeg, the largest, and Lake Winnipeg, the largest, and Lake Winniposis, which are found on the floor of the prehistoric glacial lake Agassiz. The lake is subdivided into two connected but distinctly different basins, a small, irregular-shaped north basin and a much larger south basin. It is part of the watershed of the Nelson River and Hudson Bay. The southern tip of the lake, 15 miles north of Portage-la-Prairie, Manitoba, ends in the Delta Marsh, an important staging ground for migrating birds. Communities on the lake include Fairford, Steep Rock, St. Long, and Sandy Bay. The lake is primarily fed by Lake Winnipegosis to its northwest via the Waterhen River, with an average annual contribution of 2.3 cubic kilometers. The Whitemoot River and local overland flow average about 0.317 cubic kilometers. Precipitation contributes about 2.2 chem3 1,800,000 acre. From 1970 to 2003, the Portage Diversion has contributed an average annual volume of 0.3044 cubic kilometers from the Assiniboine River. Lake Manitoba drains northeast into Lake Winnipeg through the Fairford River to Lake St. Martin and then to the Dauphin River. The average annual river outflow is 2.50 cubic kilometers. Average evaporation is 2.49 cubic kilometers per year. Most of the water inflow is from the Waterhen River, 42% of the inflow, and from precipitation directly on the lake surface, 20%, while nearly 50% of the outflow is by evaporation. This explains its hyposaline nature. Severe flooding around the lake led to the excavation of an improved outlet channel between 1899 and 1901. In 1933, following dry years in the late 1920s and early 1930s, the province constructed a concrete-controlled dam across the Fairford River immediately downstream of the channel. A new dam was constructed in 1961. The new structure is operated to try to control levels between 247.0 and 247.7 meters above sea level. Due to above-average snowfall over the winter of 2010-2011 and above-average precipitation in the spring over the Lake Manitoba watershed, forecasted water levels on Lake Manitoba called for levels above the regulated upper range of 247.7 meters above sea level and around the flood stage of 248 meters above sea level, with the added inflows of the Portage Diversion due to high water levels on the Assiniboine River and its tributaries of up to 960 cubic meters per second of water. The lake peaked at 249.1 meters above sea level on July 21. On May 31, 2011, when the lake was already very high, 248.45 meters, strong winds from the north and the northwest of 70 kilometers per hour, gusting to 90 kilometers per hour, caused major damage to beaches and communities on the south basin of the lake, including Twin Lakes Beach. Laurent, St. Ambroise, Delta Beach, Lynch Point, Big Point, and large areas of farmland. Unlike a river which can rise and recede relatively quickly, large lakes like Lake Manitoba require months or even years for lake levels to rise and fall. Below are the flood years on record in which Lake Manitoba was above flood stage as defined by Manitoba Infrastructure and Transportation. However, beginning around the level of 248 meters AL, localized flooding of agricultural land around the lake can occur. Lake Manitoba is one of the three main lakes in Manitoba's $30 million annual commercial fishing industry. The main marketable fish species caught on Lake Manitoba has changed from whitefish in the late 19th century to walleye, sauger, and yellow perch today. There's been a large increase in rough fish like carp. Telebeak catch remains high, although it is not considered a commercial species. The total recorded catch of the commercial winter fishery on the lake has declined from 6.8 kilotons annually in the late 1940s to less than 2.0 kilotons in 2002.0 kilotons. Thank you for watching. Don't forget to please like and subscribe. If you have a topic you would like to suggest, leave a comment.